Ready? Are you guys ready?
I guess. I really don't know what to expect.
Nice, Darren. Okay. I'm Tamar from Adcock.
Yes.
She's my cousin Lauren Adcock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So
You've grown up.
yeah.
First saw you.
Who were your parents?
Bobby and Sherry.
Bob and,
Both of them?
and no. Yeah.
No, she's
you're
Jim and Jan.
Jim and Jan.
Oh,
So
yeah,
her-
okay.
You see her at church.
Sure.
And I've seen you, but my gosh, you weren't near this old.
Yeah.
When you first moved out there, you were
Yeah.
a lot younger. Mm-hmm.
So how long have you two lived in Moweaqua?
How old are you, Tom?
Lived in Moweaqua itself,
No.
or just in the Moweaqua area
In the Moweaqua area.
all our life?
Mhm.
So do you have any occupations now or anything?
We're both retired. I was a registered nurse, worked. Our Dr. Pistorius here in Moweaqua, and I worked in Texas and in Decatur and St. John's where I graduated.
So all over.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
I farmed.
farmed? So
How
long?
about you?
I don't know, just working at home. So how long have you two been married?
55 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes.
Okay. Do you go do anything for fun today?
In the summer we play a lot of golf.
Golf. I like golf.
Mhm.
At the Moweaqua golf course.
Yes. Tom's on the golf board, as a matter of fact. Yes, and we like traveling. We used to go to Florida. We went for about 12 or 13 years every winter, but we haven't the last couple of years.
What was life like living in Moweaqua when you were a child?
Much less complicated. We walked everywhere. I have always lived in town, and a lot of my friends lived on the same street, and we just walked each other home, and I just lived 2 blocks from school. Now he's a different.
I lived in the country naturally. Lived a half a mile from school. Walked.
We're in good shape then.
Well, at one time, yes. The old age is catching up.
What did you do for fun then? Did you go to the movies or anything?
Yes, and we had, of course, when we were in high school, we had class parties and the freshman sophomore roast and hay rides, and we went to movies and the same, only not as elaborate as things are done now.
What was a typical, a good movie that you'd see then?
Oh, how long ago do you want to go with?
Oh, Sergeant York.
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
And that my aunt and uncle owned the movie theater in Moweaqua, so
Oh, really?
I went to the movies quite a lot when I was young.
She didn't have to pay.
Sounds fun. I wish I had that privilege.
Of course, it was only 12 or 13 cents.
Oh, really? That's even better.
And there was an ice cream store right across the street from the movies, and that was Saturday night. You go to the movie and then you get ice cream.
Would you do the same thing?
Yes, yes.
So, what were some of the businesses around?
Well, on North and South Main Street, where the Village Hall is now, there was a dry goods store. They sold material and clothes and things like that, and
It was called Haslam's.
Haslam's dry goods store. And across the street, there were 2 grocery stores, Thomas's and Shasteen grocery stores. And at one time, on the corner where the bank parking lot is, there was a grocery store called True Locks, and upstairs they had a roller skating rink. And we used to roller skate up there. My friend's father owned the store and the roller rink, and we skated a lot.
There's a lot of connections.
Yes, and it's just not what you know it.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
Mhm.
So did you have a particularly favorite store you like to go to every?
Well, because I lived with my grandparents, and her brothers had what was called Kaufman's Mill. It started out as grain and grinding flour and whatnot, and then it became a grocery store, as I remember it. And we would walk down there, and my sister and I'd get groceries and take them home to Heidi and Dad.
And then there was Esther's.
Oh yes, the candy and ice cream shop.
Penny candy and ice cream and drinks, soft drinks.
Popsicles, popcorn in the cones, the
Yeah.
it was like colored paper, not tissue paper, but you could see through it. And they had that when they had ball games at the school too. She always had a popcorn stand down there, which is where the old school was, down where Marge Gordon's house is, and those houses in that area.
What did you said sports games? What did you? A lot of towns people come out for games.
They played softball. The churches had leagues, and they played softball there on the school baseball diamond. We'd go and watch, eat popcorn.
Where did you live when you were a child?
On Elm Street. You know where what used to be the hospital in Moweaqua?
Yeah.
I lived on this corner just to the east on the corner. That was my grandparents, Snyder, their name, and that's where we lived. When I was born, my mother and father lived down the hard road south. My father was killed in the mine, and then we went to live with my mother's parents and my grandparents.
And then you lived outside
I
Moweaqua?
lived 3 miles west and a half north of Moweaqua. Attended Pleasant Ridge School.
What school did you attend?
What?
Did you attend Moweaqua?
Yes.
You didn't go to Moweaqua school?
No, well, went to high school.
Oh.
But the grade school, I went to country school.
And how was that?
Well, we thought it was great. There was all the way from 18 to 25 kids, and you heard all 8 grades reciting their lessons. And
So was it one room?
yes.
Cool.
And the bathrooms were way out back.
What were some of your household responsibilities when you were growing up?
Well, my sister and I were always responsible for doing the dishes, setting the table, and helping clean the house. Our grandmother was a good cook, and she just mostly didn't want us messing up. But she did teach us to make desserts, like we would make cakes and cookies and things we'd bake. But I had never put together a whole meal until I got married.
So what were some of your daily chores then?
Well, living on the farm, I had to feed the hogs, get the cows up to milk, and milk. That's about all I can remember right now.
Well, then when did you start helping in the field?
Well, I thought we were talking children here,
Oh.
but anyway, yeah, I started working in the field at the old age of probably 11 or 12, driving a tractor.
You had tractors then?
Oh, yes, yes.
So, did you have any horses or anything?
When I was real young, my father had horses, and I hated them. If I had to farm with horses, I wouldn't have been a farmer.
Oh. So like, what was your machinery like?
They were 2 and 3 bottom tractors, 3 bottom plows, 8, 9, 10-foot disc. Small.
Yeah.
In today's age.
Yeah.
And when we got married, I didn't know a corn planter from a manure spreader. I knew they grew things at the edge of town, and that was about it.
So what form of transportation did both of your families have? You had a car, or?
Yes, yeah. The first one I remember was a 1934 Chevy. And then in 1938, he got another Chevy. 41, a new Pontiac. Boy, we was really getting up there then.
Well, my grandmother and grandfather, neither one drove. But my uncle had a car always, and my grandfather was the editor of the Moweaqua News, and my uncle, then his son, was a publisher. They put out the Moweaqua News for a lot of years. And Uncle Claude had a car. I don't know what it was. He had cars.
It had been a Ford, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, probably was. I wasn't that interested. If it drove, if it went, took you where you wanted to go, that was all that was important.
Okay, what was it like being a daughter of a coal miner?
You know, I was only 2 when my father was killed. So I really had no...
Your father, your uncle, and your grandfather.
Were all killed in the mine at the same time. My sister was born 3 months after my father was killed. And so I remember very little about it except going down to see my grandmother Corby, who lived very close to where the mine was, and hearing her talk about it. And it was very hard work, and they had just the crudest way of doing it, and many years ago.
Dirty job.
Dirty, very dirty job, yes.
And dangerous.
And dangerous, yes. And of course the explosion then on Christmas Eve in 1931. No.
32.
Yes, in 32. I was born in 31. Yeah.
So how old were you when the accident happened?
I would have been 3 in January.
Yeah, after that happened on Christmas Eve.
So I don't remember anything about it other than what my parents told me. I think if I remember right, my dad helped, what I want to say, when they brought the guys up, helped identify the bodies.
That had been a tough job.
Oh, I don't think he ate too well for a while.
So do you remember anything about like the atmosphere that morning?
Only what I've been told. I think hadn't it been quite warm for that time in December? And the barometer changed real suddenly, and a drop in the barometer, and that changed the atmosphere probably, and may have caused the explosion that took place. And of course it was Christmas Eve, and people were getting ready for family dinners and happy occasion, and I think this put quite up.
Wasn't there approximately 50 families involved?
Yes, yeah, I think so, because of course a like Grandmother Corby had her husband and 2 sons killed, so that would have been all in one family.
Did you have Christmas, or did everybody just kind of stop?
I think that it totally stopped everything. From what I have heard my mother talk about it and my grandparents, that the whole town was just, well, they were in shock.
Yes.
So like, were you all at the mine too when it happened?
No, I wasn't, no.
No.
We were too young. But I imagine, I'm quite probably sure that my father was.
Did your mother go to the mine?
Yes.
And
Yes,
there?
there are some pictures in some of the older papers, and I think my mother's picture is in one of those.
Do you remember the day that your father was brought up in
No, I don't. I don't. I'm sure somewhere I have some of those papers from that time, but they were not one of the last ones brought up, and they were together, the 3 of them. But I don't know how many days from the first to the last that they
It took to bring them up.
survivors. I really don't.
Can you remember like how Moweaqua changed after Olympic?
I need to punch my tongue harder.
You're going to have to talk a little louder for me.
You didn't hear.
No.
Do you remember how like Moweaqua changed and the people in Moweaqua, did they get like closer or people start helping each other?
Well, no, I can't answer that. I wouldn't know. I was too young.
Have you heard of like any of the groups that were formed after the disaster? Like, we've been told there was a couple of groups, like for the widows.
I think that there was, and especially those who lived down there in the mine area. So many of them were Czechoslovakian, German background. My grandparents came over when they were quite young, but they were born in Germany, and they first lived in the Streeter area where would have been my great-grandfather worked in the mines up in that area.
Did your responsibilities at home change any?
I was too little. Of course, my whole life changed, even though I didn't probably realize how much at the time, because we left where we had been living and went to my grandparents' home, and that's where I lived until I went away to school.
So, sorry, I'm going back to the grade school thing. Was the Moweaqua grade school called Moweaqua grade school?
Yes, Moweaqua grade school and high school, they were all together. The old building faced the west. And then the newer building was the gymnasium, which was south of the older building. And the classrooms were upstairs in the gym as well as in the back part of the school, the older school building, and the grade school, the grades were in the front part. And it had 2 floors. There were those classes downstairs and some upstairs.
But the high schoolers didn't have to associate with the grade schoolers.
No, they were separate. It was actually separate, but in the same building.
So what were some of the classes you took, the same ones you take now?
Yes, not as, we didn't have as many choices as you do. Of course, grade school, like now, is pretty well cut and dried what you take. However, I think that they have combined a lot of things that you take now, where we had separate history and geography classes and
All kinds of math.
well, I think we probably even had more math. And we didn't have any computers or anything like
No.
that. It was you had
Typewriters.
well, yeah, we did have typewriters. And in high school, then we had to home ec and business and history if you couldn't get out of it.
Agriculture.
Yeah.
Was there an FFA at the time? Were you in it?
Yes.
What was it like then?
Well,
They had a lot of fun.
yeah, we did. But farming wasn't as complicated then as it is now. And, but yes, I learned a lot of everything.
Did you have like meat judging and all that they have now?
You're going to have to talk.
Judging.
Oh, sorry. Meat judging and all that they have now. Did you do that?
Meat judging.
Oh, well,
But you did cattle.
cattle, hogs, poultry, yeah. Judging, we'd go to judging contests.
So, did your high school, did they have like basketball?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever play any sports like that?
I didn't, but the class of 1948 had a heck of a good class, and that was the year I graduated. I always was there. Yellow and white.
They went to, they played at Decatur in the old Kentner gym.
Come awfully close to beating them.
Did you play any sports?
No, just in PE. And they didn't really have sports for girls.
Yeah.
And I would not have been good anyway, because anytime they had to choose up sides, I was the last one chosen.
Had 3 left feet.
Played out in the outfield, and whenever a ball came toward me, I moved over so it wouldn't hit me.
That's how we play.
But we ice skated and things like that in the winter.
That sounds fun. Yeah.
It was fun.
But there was an ice skating rink here, wasn't there?
It was a pond.
A pond.
Over here where the house trailers
where
are.
the trailers are now.
There was a pond there.
We called that the North Pond. And we skate there, and then out where you live, south of there was what we call Goose Lake. And there's still water back there behind Dials and in there. We'd ice skate out there too.
It's in your backyard.
Yeah. So when you went to high school, you didn't walk to the high school?
No, bus.
Bus.
Yeah. Now they have so many buses. We had 2 buses back then.
One on the east side and one on the west side.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about when you were growing up? Anything at all?
It was a much slower time. Doesn't seem like we were in the hurry that everyone is so busy. And a lot of women did not work. Most mothers were at home. It was different at that time. But
Back then, if there were drugs, we didn't know anything about drugs. Now, beer, yes. But
I just barely remember before Moweaqua was voted dry. There was a tavern, wasn't there? Yeah. But I was young enough that I really didn't know anything about it. But there was one on South, where the cleaners used to be, or where that judo place is now, or karate, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
there was one across the street from the news office, close to Esther's there.
Oh, yes, I'd forgotten about that. I remember the other one because I think it had swinging doors, and that was always rather fascinating.
Thought she was in the old West,
That
the bar rooms.
And the churches were all about the same. We didn't have, well, where the General Baptist was a Presbyterian church. And there wasn't the Grace Baptist down here. There was the Methodist and the Baptist that's still where they are now, and then the Presbyterian and the Christian church. And the Catholic church, it has always been there.
So violence like it is today was not anything like it?
No. And not even in Decatur. We thought it was really bad up there.
That was like another planet.
But actually, compared to the things that happen today, there was nothing. And even when I was in school in Springfield at St. John's, we walked at night when we'd been home for the weekend and came back on the bus. We walked from the bus station back to the nurse's home and never thought a thing about it. And in the evenings in the summer, we would walk clear down 9th Street, down to South Grand. And
probably couldn't do that now.
no, I would not. I would not.
I don't know if I want to do it in the daytime.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a totally different world.
I think I read something about a hotel being in Moweaqua.
Yes. It was on the west side of Main Street. There, it looks horrible now. I don't know.
The last buildings on the,
Next
as you're going out north.
Next to Bergner's insurance real estate place now is where it was, and it was. I don't know if I was ever upstairs, but they had a big soda fountain and tables and chairs in the downstairs, and it was marble, the soda fountain. And
She was a city slicker.
and if my sister and I had been good and done everything we were supposed to, our mother and grandmother would take us in there on Saturday afternoon for a hot fudge sundae. Saturday.
Remember the food there at all?
Remember what?
Food. Did they?
I don't know, Mary.
I
was a country boy.
They probably did have food, but we did not eat out like people do now. No, not really. To eat out someplace, and there were no McDonald's or anything like that. Everybody pretty much cooked and ate at home.
Should I tell them how many times you've eaten out this week?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
So, can you tell us any more about your country life?
Of course, I didn't know any different. I thought that was the only place to be.
Your Christmas programs.
Oh yeah, at the local grade school, Pleasant Ridge. I was embarrassed to tears at one of the programs. My cousin, I guess, was the Santa Claus. And I was telling Santa Claus that, and I didn't know who it was, but anyway, I was telling Santa Claus that my dad wanted a yard fence for Christmas. And he made some wise remark, because they were both related, my dad and Santa Claus. And my dad threw an overshoe at him and hit him. And I thought, holy cow, there goes my chances for any Christmas. But we played in grade school, especially when the leaves were down off the trees. We played all kinds of games, and if there was snow on, we made different kinds of designs and played games. Fox and Goose and Black Man and
We did that too.
Thought we was having a big time.
Didn't take much to entertain us.
So did you have any siblings?
You had one brother,
One brother, yes.
but
He was older by about 12 years than I was.
So you say we did, was there other people who lived closer to you out in the country?
Oh, yes, we had close neighbors. There were Bob and Janet Simmons lives. There was neighbors there. Yeah, we did. We used to have potlucks at different times up at the school.
you were running out of questions.
Anything else you'd like to tell us, since we're out of questions?
I don't think of anything.
Well, I was just thinking of the streets in Moweaqua and how different they were at that time. Actually, almost all of the buildings had something in it, and they were kept up real nicely, and compared to how they have gone down. We have some additions that are much nicer, and some of them have
Saturday nights was the big night. Everybody in the country come to town on Saturday night and bought their groceries and sat on the street corner and talked, and kids went to the show. That was always a big thing to come to town on Saturday night.
So do you remember like when Moweaqua, all the businesses started kind of diminishing?
Would it have been after World War II?
Probably.
Probably around that time, around 1945, 46. Or even closer to 50 maybe, because when I graduated in 49 and then went to Springfield to school, the town was pretty much the same, but during those 3 years that I was gone, it did begin to change quite a bit.
Like
I went in
stores left?
What?
Like the stores?
Yes, some of the people that owned some of the stores were getting older, and the younger people didn't seem to be interested in taking over those businesses, because by that time people were driving more and would go to Decatur and other places to shop.
One thing I remember really well, I went into the Air Force in 1951, and I was stationed in Texas. Well, Texas is about as flat as that floor there, and man, if you've been there, you know. And when I come back to Moweaqua on July of 1951, I couldn't get over how green everything was. The yards were green, the trees were so green, and there were so many trees. It just, in 6 months, I kind of forgot what my hometown was like.
Yeah. Was there a big change when you came back? I mean, like, do you remember a big change with all the stores and everything being done?
Well, yes, it was a big change, because while I was in the Air Force, I married this lady. And we got out of that. I got out of the Air Force in October of ¡53, and we came home and we lived with my parents because our house wasn't ready, and we had our first son. And yeah, it was a change.
For us, especially. Yes. In town, it had changed between 1945 and 1952. There was a lot of change. The grocery stores had closed and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a time where there just wasn't anything?
No. Actually, compared to some of the little towns around, Moweaqua has managed to survive better, I think, and have kept up the downtown area. looking better than a lot of the small towns around here. I may be prejudiced, but
Well, I would be too, but I've always said Moweaqua has a lot going for it. We have a doctor's office, we have a dentist's office, we have a golf course, that, you know, there's just some, we have a grocery store. So many of the little towns anymore doesn't even have a grocery store.
Yeah.
And we have several churches, and there could be a lot worse places.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
well, maybe you've learned a little bit about.
We have. We learned a lot.
What?
Yeah, this whole experience.
Have you talked to several people
There was some other groups like first
that are doing?
Yeah.
Then you'll kind of put everything together
Yep.
and see what you
Yep.
have. I'm sure you've seen a copy of the Moweaqua Remembers that goes back with.
Yeah, we got a couple chapters out of it. So we kind of read. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
more gift to us.
Mhm. Yeah, I have one somewhere.
But as far as the mine disaster, you're just about talking to the wrong people, because we were
It's okay.
only 2 and 3 years old.
And many of the people who are gone now, who remember it well. I don't know if you're too young, but my Uncle Mike Corby was the superintendent of schools here for quite a few years. And my Uncle George Corby was postmaster for a lot of years. And of course it was their father and brothers who were killed. And they knew more about it because they were older.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, you're
You're
quite
entirely welcome.
welcome.
We need to get a picture. Oh yeah. Can we get a picture of you two?
Oh,
Oh my, I thought that's what you've been doing all along.
We were